Welcome to the Totally Honest Cooking Show. I'm Mark. Today we're making Taiwanese popcorn chicken. And we got this recipe courtesy of wokandkin.com. This recipe starts off with a marinade and recommends that you marinate for 20 minutes to overnight, with overnight being preferred. So that's what we're going to do. I've got most of the ingredients in front of me, but there's a couple things we still have to do. I did all the prepackaged work for us. We're going to start by peeling a little bit of ginger. This recipe calls for a teaspoon, so not that much, but we do need to peel our ginger. Again, the easiest way to do that is with the back of a spoon. With that task accomplished, we're going to grate a teaspoon of ginger. And then we're going to check and make sure it's a teaspoon. That was probably the easiest ginger grating experience I've ever had on this show. Next, we're going to press 2 cloves of garlic. With that done and our 2 cloves of garlic separated, we're going to go ahead and crack 1 egg and separate it. We want the white. See how that worked? Easy enough, right? And finally, we've got a pound of chicken thighs that we're going to cut into 1-inch chunks. First, I'm going to trim off some of this fat though. With that done, we're going to go ahead and slice this into 1-inch cubes. You know how to do that. You just take a piece, cut it into little slices, and then you can go ahead and make your 1-inch chunks. With that done, we're ready to put everybody into a gallon Ziploc bag to get to know each other. I'm going to start with these 2 cubes of fermented chili bean curd. Basically, this is fermented tofu, and I'm just going to mash them. If you're like me and you can't have the devil's gluten, read your labels. This one seems to be safe. Says it contains sesame and soy. The main ingredients are water and soybeans and salt. If you get a flavored one like this one that has chili in it, just make sure that it doesn't have soy sauce in it, because that's where your problem is. Speaking of, I'm going to toss in 1 teaspoon of gluten-free soy sauce. You want light soy sauce or all-purpose soy sauce. Don't get dark soy sauce. It will be too salty. Next up, you're going to want a tablespoon of Shaoxing cooking wine. I can't have this. It has wheat in it. So we are using dry sherry. So 1 tablespoon of Shaoxing cooking wine or 1 tablespoon of dry sherry. They are usable pretty much interchangeably. Then we have 1 teaspoon 5-spice powder, 1 teaspoon sugar, and 1 teaspoon salt. 1 teaspoon chicken bouillon powder, and 1 teaspoon onion powder, and 1 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper. Just chuck that in there too. Reckless abandon, why not? Then we've got a tablespoon of cornstarch chilling out over in the corner. We're just going to toss that in. Then we're going to throw in our teaspoon of grated ginger, our 2 cloves of garlic that we pressed, and 1 egg white. So now we're going to throw these in here. Once I've given my hands a wash, I'm just going to give this a good thorough mixing. If you start having a hard time, feel free to open the bag, get your hands in there. Once it seems like all the flavors have come together, we're going to throw this in the fridge overnight, maybe even a little longer. Before we can build our frying station, we've got a couple matters to attend to. First, we've got to get some basil ready. This is Thai basil. We got about 2 cups here. Then we've got 2 teaspoons of salt, 1/4 teaspoon of our 5-spice powder, and 1 teaspoon of hot paprika. Now I made this using 2/4 sweet paprika and 1/4 cayenne pepper. That should be fine. From there, I have 1 teaspoon each Szechuan pepper and white peppercorn. We're just giving these a little toast over medium heat, waking them up. You will notice that they start popping around a little bit after a little while. We just wanted to give them a little bit of color, wake them up. From here, I put them in a coffee grinder. We're going to grind them. If you don't have a coffee grinder handy, you could just use a food processor or a mortar and pestle. I would rather do this. It's less cleanup. Once everybody's powder, we're just going to go ahead and put it in this ramekin with everybody else. You may have to use a spatula or a butter knife to get the seasoning out of the coffee grinder. Make sure you have unplugged the coffee grinder. Now we're just going to mix everybody together with a spoon. Okay, it's time to build our little frying station over here. We've used potato starch before, we've used cornstarch before. I've never used sweet potato starch before, so I'm going to use that today. The recipe said use cornstarch or sweet potato starch. So I'm just going to pour a cup of sweet potato powder in this casserole dish that I used to make my station. And I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking powder. Work that in. And now we're ready to add our chicken. And now we're going to dredge, get everybody nice and covered. You can definitely tell right away that the sweet potato starch seems to be lumpier than regular potato starch or cornstarch. So I feel like this should produce a nice thick crust with craggles and all kinds of good stuff. You're going to want to separate out all these pieces so that they get fully covered. You'll notice that they really, really want to stick together. They love to stick together. They're best friends. That chicken over there, my BFF. You know, that kind of thing. No, just me. This is where we're going off script a little bit. Their recipe just says to heat the wok up and fry. We're not going to follow their instructions because they don't include anything about monitoring the oil temperature or anything like that, and that's really important and easy to do. So I've got my instant read thermometer and we're going for 350 degrees for the first fry. Okay, so we had another whoopsie doodle. I forgot that the camera wasn't on. So I'm just going to do the last batch and then we'll be ready. This is the first fry. We heated the wok to 350 degrees. And we're just dropping them in, right? Now be careful with the oil. Don't burn yourself. And we're just trying to keep them separated. Try to keep them separated. Hey! No, just me? Okay. We're going to fry our chicken in 2 batches, right? The first batch is for about a minute till pale blonde at 350 degrees. The second batch, we're going to crank it up to 400 and fry it till it's done. And it should be this pale blonde color. That's fine. And you're just going to keep doing that till you run out of chicken. I really appreciate anybody that watches this show. I appreciate that mistakes are my gimmick, but most cooking shows get around the barrier of remember to turn the camera on. We've managed to keep the heat pretty consistent, so we're trying to bring it up to 400 degrees for our final fry. While I'm waiting for this to come up in temperature, I'm just going to skim off some of this crap. I won't be able to get it all. I don't expect to. We've hit 400 degrees. We're adding our chicken back in. And we're just giving it a couple more minutes till it gets crispy and golden. Notice that this time, all the rules about crowding are out of the window. Everybody's already cooked enough so that you don't have to separate them. Some people say that you lower the temperature more when you do this, but I don't really think that's true. In fact, I think I just saw a Mythical Kitchen like last week where they tested it and it was fine. There's definitely 1 or 2 that have merged together, but that's okay. Popcorn chicken is all about the experience, man. Okay, so they're starting to look golden. I'm gonna pull them. Okay, we're around 330 degrees now. And now we're going to fry the basil. That was slightly more scary than I expected it to be. Once they look crispy, I'm gonna pull them, and we're putting them in a bowl with the chicken. Now we're gonna toss in our seasoning. And look at that, we've got Taiwanese popcorn chicken ready to go. I'm gonna plate myself up some. Okay, I've made this Taiwanese popcorn chicken, and you can too. Leave a comment down below, let me know what I should do next. Give me a like, maybe a subscribe. And I'll see you next week. Bye.